Welcome back to Trail Tales. In this video, we take on the subway, one of the most epic hikes we've ever encountered in the Utah wilderness. In this video, we're going to show you everything you need to know before hiking it yourself, and show you our experience in this magical place. Is it worth the 7-hour hike? Is it possible to do the hike without getting wet feet? Keep watching to find out. With this channel, we seek to inspire you by bringing you along on beautiful hikes that we've discovered along our travels, and provide you with everything you need to know before you plan your trip. If that sounds good to you, please consider subscribing for more content like this. To hike this trail, you need a permit, and to get one of those, you need to win a lottery. We were fortunate enough to get 2 permits of just 80 on a day in late May, so we packed our bags and flew to Las Vegas, and then drove a couple of hours east to Zion National Park in the far south of Utah. Known for its unique tubular shape, which resembles a subway tunnel, the canyon was formed by the erosive forces of water over millions of years, resulting in its distinctive sculpted walls and narrow passages. The hike itself is a 16-kilometer out and back trail, following the Left Fork Creek all the way upstream to where the canyon walls become sheer cliffs. We'd done plenty of research about the hike prior to applying for the lottery. A little housekeeping first. You will need to go to the Zion National Park Visitor Center or Kolob Canyon Visitor Center to pick up your permit. The ranger there will also talk to you about the trail, what you need to bring and prepare for. There are no facilities once you leave the car park, so you're advised to bring toilet paper and a plastic bag. In the summer, you should bring at least 2 liters of water per person, food to keep your energy up, sunscreen, and footwear that you can get wet. You will be hiking through water, and you'll need both grip and ankle support along the way. There are king snakes and rattlesnakes in the area, so keep an eye out for them. Flash floods are always a risk in the valley. Check the weather forecast beforehand and speak with park rangers to understand the risks on the day. If you hear thunder but see blue skies, get to high ground quickly, and if there's heavy rain, you should abort the hike. The start of the hike is a portent of great things to come. The bright red earth beneath your feet is also visible in the cliff faces on all sides. It contrasts so starkly with the deep blue sky and the rich green of all the flora around you. While this is a desert, it is far from bone dry. About 10 minutes in, we pass the Zion Wilderness boundary line, and the descent into the valley begins. This is the last you'll see of a well-maintained path until you return in 6 hours' time. The climb down can be a little treacherous in places. The sand is very soft, and the loose rocks offer little to no support. There are people higher than you, coming down or going up. Just keep an eye for falling rocks. We've seen some hikers kick them down. Yeah, but it was by accident.
Yeah, you don't want to pick up any speed because there's no stopping quickly with this fine loose dirt. Yeah, but it's manageable.
If you pay attention to your surroundings, you'll find that this place is teeming with life. Beetles and lizards are scurrying to and fro, so be careful not to step on them.
On your return leg, this is the sign you don't want to miss. This is what we're looking for on the way back. I don't want any foreshadowing, so let's actually see this and go that way.
After about 45 minutes, we reached the creek, and our first crossing wasn't long after that. We opted to use rocks to cross the river for as long as we could, as we hadn't rented neoprene boots that can get wet. You can rent them at the visitor centers for about $50 for the day. So, first river crossing complete. We are down in the valley floor, it seems. So we're just going to follow the valley back up again.
We started the hike late, which was we're a little bit concerned about, but we still have tons of time until 8:40, which is when the sun sets. So that's something important to check if you're going to start late. The nice thing is that there's some clouds that have come by, so we're getting a cool breeze that I think they probably missed in the morning.
We're about 2 kilometers in at this point, so not too bad of a start. The terrain has changed completely. No longer scree and jagged rocks, it's all kind of sand and trees down here. Makes for a nice change. And of course we have the glorious sight of the Kolob Terrace up to our left, and some more of the Zion Wilderness on our right. It's absolutely fantastic. Time for another crossing. Look at that danger noodle. Just a reminder to everyone to keep an eye out for snakes. They are on the trail, and yeah, I don't think they'd like being stepped on.
Where is the path from here? It's kind of two ways. This is why having Alltrails or a map is definitely useful.
Very considerate of the parks to leave this huge boulder here for us to stand underneath while it rains. We did have a very light shower pass overhead, not enough to warrant donning a raincoat. On the contrary, it was rather refreshing, and the clouds gave us shade from the hot sun. However, we were wary of flash floods. The rain never amounted to much, and we could see blue skies on either side of the small cloud, so we decided it was probably safe to continue. Because this hike is limited to only 80 people per day, it is very quiet. We met just a handful of people the whole hike. The trail is also somewhat open to interpretation. It's not maintained and it's not well worn, so in many places it's more of a choose-your-own-adventure pathfinding mission. Is this the way? For me, this kept the hike interesting the whole way, there and back. But for Erin, the hike did feel a bit of a trudge at times, especially given the 3+ hours each way. Sometimes it can be hard to find the way, but don't fret, and don't do anything you're not comfortable with. If it doesn't feel right, you've probably taken a wrong turn, and there's an easier way around the obstacle that stands before you. So we are most of the way there now. We've done about 6 kilometers, and the walls of this gorge are getting quite high. So I suspect we're getting very close to the subway, which will be pretty much the turning around point of this hike. The route is still very convoluted, and there's a lot of referring to the map and following the trail on there versus your GPS location, because in many cases it's still very unclear exactly what is a trail and what isn't.
And now the trail is the point where you're basically gonna have to get your feet wet. It's telling us that the trail is the river. So if you want to change into sandals, now's the opportunity.
Well, they weren't lying. The water is very cold, and the rocks under the river are quite slippery, so exercise some caution when walking this path. While the waterfalls you climb are beautiful, they are also treacherous. Under the water, clinging to the rock, is a slippery green plant that could ruin your day. Even in grippy shoes, you'll have a tough time passing them. Place every foot carefully. The shoes I'd picked did not provide as much grip as I'd hoped for, and I fell a couple of times, eventually switching back to my hiking boots for the remainder of the hike. I feel very ungraceful climbing up that. It's so slippery. On the plus side, getting your legs wet is extremely refreshing at this stage in the hike. We'd ascended 300 meters since we left the car park, and the air temperature was 28 degrees. The sun had come back out and we were feeling very hot after that long climb. After falling and sliding quite some distance, I decided to pick up a walking stick.
We made it! It's right there!
So we're about 3.5 hours into this hike. We had a little pit stop because I fell into the water and we had to adjust everything. But we are finally at the subway, surrounded by these enormous cliffs, bright red rock, and this really cool looking tunnel that we're about to go and explore. So I'm excited.
Yeah!
but don't let these slippery surfaces detract from your experience. This is the most stunning section of the hike. The cliffs rise sharply and become sheer vertical walls, striped in a bright palette of colours. You can not only see the layers of the rock and how the water has carved into them, but just how porous the rock is. The vertical stripes are all deposits from weeping walls. Set and setting definitely contribute to how you experience a place, and the 3-hour hike to get there was a big part of that. But it does not take away from the grandeur of this canyon. It is hard to believe nature formed this of its own accord, and in all my travels, I've never seen anything quite like it. Words and pictures fall far short when describing how it felt to be here. A word of warning as you pass through this section. Be careful of the potholes. Use your stick to see how deep they are. Some you won't find the bottom. This is as far as you can walk. After this, you are no longer hiking, but canyoning, and you really need a guide to explore it further safely. It is possible to swim here, and we did see some people doing so, but the water is extremely cold.
This is the end of the line. It's been 8 kilometers so far, so there's another 8 kilometers to head back before the sun sets and it gets dark. So, was it worth it?
It was. I know. I was worried that it wasn't going to be, but it's pretty epic. Your feet go numb, so they no longer feel cold.
Yeah, the water is extraordinarily cold.
But honestly, you're so amazed by the surroundings, you don't notice.
I've never seen anything quite like this. It's an absolutely remarkable place. Yeah, I'm grateful to have experienced it.
Yeah, me too. And the hike back should be faster, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we've got lots of daylight.
Remember to put your stick back in the library after you're done with it, so that others may use it too.
I reflected on my experiences while making this video. I still feel very lucky to have been able to do this hike. It's a special place where it feels like the wilderness, and limiting it to just 80 people a day helps to keep it feeling like this.
Wow, we did it.
We managed it. It took 7 hours. My feet are hurting, my boots are soaked, I'm still quite wet.
But the subway was awesome. Like, it was definitely worth the hike if you can get a permit. Yeah, and your feet will get wet. Like, we really thought that we could avoid getting our feet wet. You cannot. At least not in May, the end of May. There's still a lot of water. But it really, like, as long as you have the right shoes, like mine are Gore-Tex and they dried pretty quickly after getting wet every time.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. And it was very refreshing, so.
Yeah. We also started the hike quite late in the day, so it's 7 p.m. now, so it's nice and cool. We've got some soft light, we've got a sunset. Everything is just absolutely spectacular. And it's so quiet. There's no one else here. There's no noise, there's no wind, there's no water where we are because we've just climbed back up to the car park.
Yeah, and talking about that climb, it wasn't that bad. Like, it's definitely tiring, but there's only a couple points where you really feel exposed, like you could slide a little bit, but for the most part.
It was worse coming down.
Yeah, it was worse coming down. And we've done worse inclines, so it was over very quickly.
Yeah. Overall, this was a truly unique trail. We hiked a total of 16 kilometers, climbed a total of 736 meters, and in total it took us about 7 hours to complete. The hike itself was not especially challenging, you just need to prepare appropriately for it, and 7 hours is quite long, so I'm rating this a medium difficulty. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, giving us a like, maybe leaving a comment, and if you like this content then stick around, we've got plenty more videos from Zion and all across the world. And yeah, hope to see you up Sun Mountain again soon.